Hello and welcome, my dear friend. Sometimes it's not the loud moves that change history. Sometimes it's the quiet ones, the ones nobody notices at first. Think about a domino chain. You tap one piece, barely a flick of your finger, and the whole pattern starts collapsing and rebuilding itself. What looked steady a moment ago begins to shift because of one tiny push. That's what just happened in your life. You may not have felt it right away. Maybe you even second-guessed yourself. Did that prayer matter? Did that decision really make a difference? Was choosing integrity in that moment worth the cost? But heaven didn't see it as small. It was the move that tipped the balance. It was the decision that made God rearrange the entire field around you. And here's the part you need to know. The rules that applied to you yesterday no longer apply today. It's because God just reset the board. And when He resets the board, everything tied to you has to shift. See, most people think breakthroughs happen with fireworks. But the truth is, it often looks ordinary. A midnight prayer no one heard, a no to a temptation that could have ruined you, a choice to walk away from what wasn't aligned even though it left you lonely. You thought it was just another step. Heaven knew it was the step, the kind that rewrites your story. Here's the reality. The conversations about you are already changing. Not because people suddenly decided to be kind, but because they can feel the tilt. They don't know why they're unsettled around you. They don't understand why they can't place you in the same category anymore, but it's happening. The atmosphere is echoing what God has already declared. And you can sense it too, can't you? That mix of heaviness and anticipation. The way your spirit feels restless, like something has already shifted but you can't fully name it yet. That's not your imagination. That's what it feels like when God recalibrates everything in your favor. All you need to do is carry God's presence into your everyday life with confidence, and then watch the miracle unfold before your eyes. Let me make it plain. Your last act of faith triggered a divine chain reaction. For some of you, this will show up as doors closing suddenly. Spaces you used to fit in will feel foreign. Invitations will stop coming. People you leaned on will go quiet. And while the human side of you may feel rejection, the spiritual side needs to understand this is God pulling you out of rooms that can't contain who you are becoming. For others, it will show up as sudden favor. Someone who barely noticed you before will unexpectedly go out of their way to help. An opportunity will show up without you knocking. Your name will surface in conversations you never entered. Why? Because the board changed, the game shifted, and don't be surprised when some people start stumbling too. When structures that used to hold you down collapse. When those who mocked your faith have no words left. When the same people who once doubted you start asking for your insight. Not because you went after them, not because you tried to prove anything, but because heaven itself has tilted the ground. And here's the most important part. This isn't temporary. This isn't a fleeting chapter. This is a permanent rewrite. God is not putting you back on the old board. He is building a new one beneath your feet. That's why you can't play small anymore. You can't keep apologizing for the weight you carry. You can't explain away the favor that's resting on you. Every time you downplay yourself to make others comfortable, you're ignoring the shift God just made on your behalf. Listen closely. You are not in the same game anymore. The outcome that once looked impossible is now inevitable. The pieces that once boxed you in are now working in your favor. And the ones who thought they knew how your story would end, they're about to realize they never saw this part coming. Because when God changes the rules, no one can play against you the same way again. So if you've been questioning whether your last act mattered, let this be your confirmation. That moment you thought was small, it was the spark. That prayer you whispered when no one was listening, it was the key. And now, everything around you is catching up with what God already decided. God didn't just give you a blessing. He changed the entire game because of you. Now let's talk about what this game change will actually look like in your life. Because God doesn't shift things in theory, He shifts them in reality. And you're about to start noticing signs that can't be denied. For some of you, the first sign will be how quickly you start sensing what no longer fits your calling. A place that once welcomed you will suddenly feel strange. A friendship you leaned on will fade. An environment that used to feel familiar will start feeling too small, too tight, like shoes that no longer fit. And while your natural response might be to cling, don't. Because those shifts aren't rejection, they're confirmation. God is pulling you out of what can't hold you anymore. Think of it like a snake shedding its skin. It doesn't mean the skin was bad. It just means it no longer fits, and holding on to it would suffocate the growth. That's what God is doing with you. You might even catch yourself asking, why now? Why so suddenly? Because when the board changes, the pieces move differently. And God wants you to know, these blessings aren't random. They are the visible echoes of the private decisions you made when no one was watching. For some of you, you'll notice a shift in the way people look at you. Some won't say a word, but you'll feel it in their eyes. They can't define it, but they sense the authority on you now. They feel unsettled because the version of you they used to know is no longer here. And listen carefully. Don't ever apologize for the weight you now carry. If you try to go back to playing small, you'll suffocate the very gift God just released over your life. Here's something else that may surprise you: resistance. Yes, even in the middle of favor, you will feel pushback. Old temptations resurfacing, familiar doubts creeping back in, people trying harder to pull you into cycles you've already escaped. But instead of panicking, take it as confirmation. Resistance is the proof that the game has changed. If nothing had shifted, the pressure wouldn't feel this intense. The enemy doesn't fight what isn't threatening. The fact that the pressure increased is evidence that your life just tilted into victory. Let me give you an image. Imagine you were playing chess, and everyone watching thought you were cornered. They were certain you'd lose. But then you made one unexpected move and suddenly the game flipped in your favor. The crowd would gasp, your opponent would scramble, and even before the game officially ended, everyone in the room would know the outcome had already shifted. That's the moment you're in right now. People may not be able to explain it, but they can sense it. The rules changed. The game flipped. The outcome is no longer in doubt. And here's the part that makes it even greater. This shift doesn't just affect you, it ripples outward. Your obedience has broken cycles for your family. Your yes to God has opened doors for people connected to you. Your faith has shifted the atmosphere in ways you may not fully realize yet. This is why the battle felt so personal. Because the enemy knew if you made this move, it wouldn't just lift you, it would lift everything tied to you. That's why the pressure was relentless. That's why the nights were heavy. That's why you almost talked yourself out of it, but you didn't quit. You didn't fold. You didn't hand your life back to fear. And now, you're standing in the middle of a divine rewrite. So expect sudden provision. Expect opportunities that feel too big to explain. Expect relationships to rearrange, some falling away, others stepping in like they were always meant to. And when it happens, remember this: it's not luck, it's not coincidence, it's not because people suddenly grew kinder, it's because heaven reset the board. God Himself drew the line and said, from this moment on, the rules are different. Let me leave you with this image. Picture yourself walking into a room where a game has been going on for hours. The players are tired. The rules have been fixed. Everyone assumes the outcome is already decided. But then the referee steps in, the highest authority in the room, and says, we're starting over. New rules. Same players. But everything is reset. And this time, the one you counted out is the one who wins. That's what God just did for you. And no matter how much others protest, no matter how unsettled it makes them, they can't undo the rewrite. So carry yourself differently now. Speak with confidence. Live like someone who knows the game is already tilted in their favor. Because the outcome is not just possible anymore, it's inevitable. The board has shifted, the rules have changed, and from this point forward, your life will never move the way it used to. God has changed the entire game, and this time, you win. And before we finish, I want to share something with you. As a musician, I've started a second channel, Simplified Serenity, with soaking worship instrumentals for prayer, stillness, and deep rest. If you felt peace here today, take it with you into your own quiet time with God. The link's in the description. I'd love to see you there.